I'm sure you guys have noticed there's been a bit of a saga brewing over at Evil Geniuses. Bit of a saga brewing over there. North American Counter-Strike. When's that ever been a shit show, you say, Richard? Well, you know, it's... sorry to disappoint you all, guys. But I did a couple of videos about it, and just to kind of bring everybody up to speed, if you haven't had time to watch the videos, do go watch the videos. It upsets me. People go, I wish Richard Lewis had made good content again instead of React content. I don't think I really do React content, but, you know, editorializing is not reacting necessarily. It's a... I'm going to sound a bit like Alan Partridge here. It's a type of reaction. But anyway, they... so here's the problem, though. We do time travel LAN, right? Three of the best minds in Counter-Strike and me, and we get around a table and we tell these like rich stories and anecdotes about all these historical teams, the 16 best teams in history, you know, of the game, and we theorize who would win and why, and we draw on all our different experience, and that gets, you know, 20,000 views by the end of the week. And then my Stewie2k, I am reading an interview that was published by someone else, pausing it occasionally, saying, this is something that's true, this is the thing that happened, da-da-da-da-da, and on we go. An hour long, so roughly the same length of time as the Time Travel LAN episode, coming up on 40,000 views. So, you know, I'm just saying, one of the greatest lies ever told by the Counter-Strike subreddit, by esports fans in general, is we want like academic level content, we want analytic content, we want historical long form content. You don't want any of that. You want drama content, don't you? That's all you want. Just care about the drama. That's the only reason you're here, the drama. So it's fine. It's, you know, now that we all know, we'll just stick to what works. So just to bring you up to speed, I did 2 videos about it. The assistant coach to Malek, the coach that parted ways with Evil Genius, former G2 coach, the assistant coach came out and said, listen, there was lots of shit going on behind the scenes, and, you know, Stewie2k is the root of a lot of the problems. His attitude absolutely stinks. There were several anecdotes around his behavior in that, including, you know, crazy things like not wanting to meet up with the coach for a coffee because he was pissed off about him, chewing him out on day one, refusing to listen, then trying to do all the debrief sessions in secret and stuff like this. And so all of this came out, and Stewie decided to do his own response stream, which he did. And it was a disaster, in my opinion. Although, you know, again, you can tell the average age of a lot of esports fans. Because I was getting messaged today by people going, "Oh, you're so out of pocket, banging on Stewie. I agreed with everything he said." It's like, okay, then you have no social skills, and you probably ain't lived a little bit. Because unfortunately, in any sports entity, the coach's authority supersedes that of the players. That's generally how it works the world over. You might make accommodations for star players. You might take on board feedback if that's your coaching style, but ultimately the coach's authority outweighs yours, and you should have to listen. Anyway, Stewie basically went through, did a reaction where he said some of it was lies, some of it was designed to make him look bad, and said, but I do take full responsibility. Even though he wasn't taking full responsibility, he tried to explain some things that were completely inexplicable, like, you know, refusing to get a cup of coffee with someone who's trying to de-escalate an argument, someone you are going to have to work with. And then, in my opinion, made himself look even worse, which, by the way, was coupled with this bizarre, tonally incongruous response of his, which is, I just want to win. I don't play for money. I will do anything to win. But you grind Valorant all day. You didn't enter the Pinnacle tournament that you absolutely could have done. You didn't want to because you're on a break. And as we're going to get to today with the latest saga and Evil Geniuses, you actually are clearly weighing up Valorant as a serious option. But yes, so more drama with EG. Now look, I want to add, because I didn't talk about this before, and I think it's interesting for context, now that this was all pre the drama, right? So this was pre the assistant coach interview. And this was the 15-man roster announcement. So we'll put this in here just for additional bits of information and context. We did talk about it a little bit previously, but we should probably think about it now. You can see with all of these players now, it kind of makes sense to have these additional squads, because it does indeed look like Evil Genius's main team are going to play as little as possible. They are going to play as little Counter-Strike as possible, and according to a report today, which we'll get to, looks like some people's contracts are going to be up for renewal in September, and those players don't want to re-sign. So yes, it actually looks like Evil Geniuses did this so they would potentially be able to meet commitments moving forward. But here's the problem. Things to consider if you are indeed the managers at Evil Geniuses and if you are an Evil Geniuses fan. If you have to enter for the next ESL Pro League an inferior team that is either a combination of these players or one of these squads, and they finish last in the group, you are under serious consideration at that point for being removed from Pro League in general. Now, for those that don't remember, the way it works in ESL Pro League is if you finish last in 3 out of the 4 seasons you compete in, the board, all of the stakeholders, the other team owners, the league itself, the league ops, they will all meet and have a discussion around whether or not it's feasible for you to continue in that spot. Because you devalue the whole league if you are not competitive, and you devalue the whole league if you have star players that could enter and drive viewership and drive engagement, but you do not enter them because you are failing to manage them correctly. Now, I'm of the opinion that they were given a pass. They finished last. They finished dead last time, and they were given a stay of execution, even though Stewie on his stream said as soon as we couldn't qualify from the group, we stopped playing. So in other words, for 2 matches, they fucked up the entire competitive integrity of that tournament because they no longer wanted to try to win. This from Mr. I only want to win, except when, you're not willing to beat AGO in a meaningless game because you can't qualify from a group. That, to me, by the way, if I was ESL, I'm picking up the phone to ESL management and going, I never want to hear anything like that ever again from any of your players, or you will be removed. There's got to be some sort of behaviour clause or a clause in the Louvre agreement about bringing the rest of the group into disrepute. Don't be saying that shit. Control your players. That's me. That's how I'd handle it if I was the commish, but whatever. So anyway, you get a state of execution if you put it in, that, yes, we did bad this season. We're going to rebuild our squad and all our star players, all our big names, the Stewies, the Breezes, the Automatics, they're going to be in your league next season. Don't you worry about it. But if it actually turns out, instead of Rush and Cirque and Breezy and Stewie and Automatic, I'm getting Walco, Wiz, Hex, Chop and Glacier, then guess what? I'm probably going to be like, you know what? When you finish bottom of that group, yeah, fuck you. If this is the caliber of player that's coming in, and it's no disrespect to those players, because right now, those players are probably a better option. That's the reality. They're ranked higher in the world. I think the main EG roster at the moment is ranked 96. But the problem is, in a pseudo franchise league, like what the Louvre agreement is, what the ESL Pro League is, you have to do as much as you can to drive, interest, to drive, engagement, to drive viewership. And if you don't, you're hurting all the stakeholders. If you don't believe me, go look at Flashpoint. Jacob Wolf put a report out just yesterday showing the folly and the pitfalls of a 2 million buy-in to a league, and then none of the owners want to make the league work. None of the owners want to field a team, And yeah, there was some COVID stuff, maybe some stuff the league could have done better. ESL did get all the big names because they had a better offer fundamentally. Well, actually, not necessarily true, but more better the devil you know. But at the end of the day, that's not going to fly in Pro League, I don't think. I don't think they'll be allowed to finish last for another season. So, just a bit of additional context around that move now and how it's all making sense to me in light of this other report which came out today, which I'll just go to. Now, by the way, unrelated, but I love to get my licks in. Really weird day of reporting for, the Dust2.us site, with some weird stuff about Flashpoint that they got wrong, and JKS and Snacks were going to be joining the Liquid roster, except they weren't. They were just asked, but we put the headline out differently, and then it was wrong, so it's like what I told you. Yes, it was Yakindar. It was always going to be Yakindar. Like, I really don't know what's going on over there at the moment. They changed editors recently, and, I had a bit of a nightmare yesterday, in my opinion. But anyway, what do I know? I'm just an award-winning journalist and editor. Something to think about. But here was another report they put out the other day, which is Evil Geniuses could lose its stars in September. Now, Thorin did a tweet where he said, it would be hard to lose your stars because you don't fucking have any on the roster, which is a bit brutal, but again, true if we're talking about everyone's individual levels of performance right now. But yes, multiple sources have told Dust2.us that key contracts within the Evil Geniuses organization are set to expire in the coming months. Cirque and Breezy have yet to sign a new deal with Evil Geniuses, and the duo could leave the Seattle-based organization at the end of September. The duo represent the last two original members of the NRG squad, acquired by EG for $3 million on the eve of IEM New York 2019. The loss of these key pieces would, despite their recent lackluster performances, be a harsh blow for the organization after a massively disappointing start to the year. So, and you have to think, with everything else that we heard around Stewie, with everything else that was said by Evie, with everything else that's come out, you have to believe these guys aren't going to re-sign, because if you remember from the Evie interview, where we got to at the end was Stewie had become such a befouling presence in the team that the players didn't want to play for him anymore. The players didn't want to play for him. They actually supported the idea that he should be replaced with a different IGL. And Stewie himself even said, if, I didn't do a good job as IGL, if, I'd like another IGL to come in, but if it has to be to replace me, then so be it. Now, I think what's more likely is these guys are just going to peace out. And what do I think's going to happen? Well, Breezy's almost certainly going to go to Valorant at this point. What are his options? He's probably going to price himself out of playing for Complexity. I don't even know if he'd want to. And obviously the piece at Complexity that needs to get replaced is Junior, first and foremost, before they do anything else. But, the only other option is what? You go to Liquid. Well, Liquid are really working hard on that Yekindar deal. They've changed their coach, as we're going to get to in a moment as well. And it feels to me that, it is kind of Valorant or bust if you're an NA player right now. I don't even necessarily blame Breezy if he does go and play Valorant. It's one of those where I think he might have missed the window to be good in that game. I know he plays casually. He doesn't seem to grind it to the same level that Stewie has been. But honestly, I think, what else is there for him? He was a very good player in CS, very talented, and I feel, there's certain players that you might want to give the benefit of the doubt. I know he's been missing for a while. It is what it is. I think EG has slowly just been eroding. Anyway, and the other one is Cirque. Now, Cirque, this probably surprised a lot of you, Cirque is the guy I feel the most sorry for on this team. He's the one I feel the most sorry for. And you're going to go, why, Richard? He fucking sucks. And I'm going to go, yeah, it really has been a long time since Cirque was good. But when he was good, he was really good. He was one of the top AWPers in the world in his day, top 5 AWPer in 2019. And just hasn't really, top 6 at worst. And, he's not really had a lot of, form since the purple patch. But unlike all the other guys, he's been grinding. He grinds deathmatch holiday. He's always playing. He's always working hard. He doesn't want to go to Valorant. He wants to stay in the game. And I feel that the community, they were willing to give other players from dysfunctional teams, their second chance. JKS is the huge example, right? JKS massively underperformed in Complexity, and everyone's going, it's all Blame F's fault. It's the team's fault. It's everyone's fault. We love JKS. Look, he won as a stand-in. He's the best player of all time. Why is he not on a team? So, I hope there's that same energy for Sir, because I actually think he would be deserving of it. Problem he's got is, where can he go? He comes back to Europe. Everyone's going to have just made their signings, by the end of the summer. He's going to be a free agent in September. Does he have to go and play with the Bulgarians, the Dreamers and everything? Certainly hope not, because he's better than that playing for Scarday. But, there's not really a lot of slots for him, especially as remember, he's an AWPer, you know. It maybe could have been Fnatic when they were in transition. They've got their AWPer now. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. He doesn't get into a top 10 team, unfortunately. He doesn't get into a top 10 team. And the teams, you know, where does he go? I mean, Bad News Eagles, something like that. I don't know. But I hope he falls on his feet and gets a good team, because Cirque is a nice guy, good kid, hard worker, and I don't think he's been a big part of the problems in this failed Evil Geniuses project. Now, another aspect to this. Daps. Remember, you heard it here first. On my stream, I did tell you the word on the street. I'll always tell you the word on the street, because I don't really much care now. I don't care. You know, if I hear the rumors flying around, I'm just going to say them. Why not? You know, I always used to go and responsibly report them and source them. Like, you can just be a motherfucker like Overdrive and just put out a fucking, put out a comment that next year Neymar is going to make an esports organization and pay Simple and Bit and Jakindar and other and Exile and everyone else who's good from the CIS region $100,000 a month because he can afford it. And that's the top post on the subreddit, and all the replies are going, yeah, it's fake, but what if? So it's okay. It's okay, by the way, just to fucking make shit up. That's completely bogus. Spoiler, here's how you know it's bogus. To double all of their players' salaries, you wouldn't have to pay them $100,000. So what would be the extra benefit of doing that? Paying them $100,000. So what would be the extra benefit of just spunking $6 million up a wall every month? What would be the benefit of that? So it's nonsense. Loads of high IQ Redditors saying, yeah, but he makes $50 million a month, so it's nothing to him. And it's like, millionaires don't become, multimillionaires don't stay multimillionaires if they frivolously throw away millions on projects they don't need to throw away millions on. You do understand, it's not like Neymar who's going, he's got one bank account and a check goes in every month and then he's just withdrawing millions whenever he wants. He's got a financial advisor, he's got a business manager, he's got an investment portfolio, he's got taxes to fucking pay off the top of that. So no, he's not just spunking $6 million up against the wall just so he can pay Simple a fucking $100,000 a month. It's complete bullshit, completely bogus. It's not even within the realms of theoretical possibility, and yet everybody loves it. So if I hear credible rumors from credible sources, yeah, fuck it, I may as well repeat them now. Turns out y'all love those fucking clout-seeking losers, so why not? So anyway, yes, I told you on stream, Jakindar was going to be going to Liquid. My understanding at the moment is the reason he's a stand-in and they haven't officially signed it is they're trying to figure out a kind of way to work around the buyout and how are we going to frame it when we're meant to be not giving money to the Russians. And again, another fucking deviation from the topic at hand. I'm just going to say that buyout is not insignificant and we're not meant to be paying oligarchs money right now, and Team Liquid are going to do it just like Cloud9 did it. Right, just like Cloud9 found a way to do it through the Ulti agency, and no one's going to complain because of American fucking exceptionalism in every aspect of fucking esports. It's pathetic. This industry is pathetic. You have no standards. You have no principles. It's a fucking joke. So, yeah, just for when the Jakindar signing's made official, remember that the same organizations with the Ukrainian flag avatars have just paid a supposedly bad Russian oligarch organization money to improve their North American Counter-Strike team. Same way they're partnered with Saudi Arabia and then they put up the pride flag. They don't have any principles, guys. Common theme in esports. So anyway, watch that space. But yes, so Evil Geniuses are now poised. We're losing their star. And as I said, Daps came out. Daps is now the coach over at Team Liquid. He replaces Adrian. And I saw a lot of people complaining and going, oh, Daps is a yes man. Daps is a yes man. Now, we've made a lot of jokes about Daps down the years on By the Numbers, but that's mainly about the dynamic he had with Stanislaw. And the joke, obviously, on By the Numbers was he was a cuckold, and Stan would always, replace him and take away all of his shit, and it had happened more than once. It was just this thing that kept on happening, and Daps was always really nice about it and really professional about it, and that led us to jokingly conclude he was some sort of cuckold. Now, Obviously, that's banter for the purposes of a podcast that's meant to be entertaining and funny at times and irreverent by design. What I'll tell you about Daps is, Daps for me has an infinitely broader skill set than Adrian. And I said back at the time when he was still playing, before he moved to Valorant, again, go and check the By the Numbers episodes if you want to, I said he will make a really good coach in CS, and I hope he sticks around in CS. And so when he had the chance to come back and coach in Counter-Strike, there was a lot going on there that people, don't know about, which we'll now talk about. But at the end of the day, Daps is not a yes man. Daps is not only a yes man, he's someone capable of building, very solid tactical systems. I really like his approach and his thought process around the game. He's also like a guy who successfully scouts. Remember, he was the guy that went out and found Mixwell, from just watching pugs and scrims and all of this stuff of other players. He was the guy that essentially discovered Mixwell, and he's done it with a ton of other people. Obviously, Daps was at the heart of the NRG team, which again pulled Cirque from obscurity and built them up. Daps is a really, really good coach and can bring you an extra dimension of being able to work with youngsters, develop youngsters, and if you need to replace somebody, maybe get you a bargain as well. I really like him. He's sort of like what Hunden used to be before Hunden became a cheating piece of shit and went full evil. So I think Daps is an upgrade, absolutely. I also like this, because people said he was a yes man on Twitter, and he responded where he said, let me just get the tweet. He said here, if I was a yes man, I'd still be at EG. Now, it's worth noting what happened at EG that people seem to forget. Well, you remember, he came in as a coach, and Stanislaw decided that Stanislaw was on a leave of absence, and Stanislaw decided that he wanted to stay on that leave of absence. And indeed, the one thing I'll give to Stan, I think he fucked over EG with his indecision and taking as long as he did. And by the way, you see a lot of people who go, oh, don't speculate about whether Device is coming back to NIP or not. That's really not nice. No one gave Stanislaw that grace. So fuck all of y'all. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Now, we said it at the time. I didn't like it. I thought he messed EG around. But to his credit, he went back to like Tier 2 Counter-Strike. He stayed there. He's just playing for fun now. He's made no intimations about coming back to Tier 1. He's not trying to fuck with anyone's career. He's not trying to steal any checks. He's just doing what he does. And mad respect for it. I hope he's happy. So, when Daps returned, the original plan was that Daps was coming in as a coach with a view to being the IGL of that team. Remember, he came back from his career in Valorant, where he had a team, he's positioned and everything, and he came back to be a coach in CS, and was going to take over Stan as IGLing. He had to stand in for one tournament, and then before you knew it, it all fell apart. And that was back when they had like Obo and Miku, and the whole team just fucking imploded. Now, when he had to talk about what was going on in the team, he was mega professional, but it was a paste bin, not a twit longer. He did put out a statement trying to explain why he ended up not sticking around at Evil Geniuses. And he said, I'll try and make this as short as possible and won't go into too many details, even though there are a lot. When I joined this team, I came into it with the understanding 1 to 2 changes needed to happen as told by the players. The ones I talked to wanted me to join, but I hadn't seen how bad the issues in the team were, so I could make a proper decision. I joined right before the player break, and I didn't get much data, but I did see that at least one change had to happen in order for the team to be functional, but unfortunately the player break got in the way. The players in the org agreed to make one change after the player break, which would have happened, but Stanislaw ended up needing an extended mental health break, which was unlucky timing, since I now needed to fill in last minute as the person we were going to pick up was not an IGL. This led to us waiting for his return for Blast, but to then make the change. But his return was pushed back, and then we had to wait for him to return for the North American RMR before we could make a change to the roster. By this point in the team, after playing in it for 2 months, I realised at least 2 changes now needed to be made. But since it was too close to the RMR, EG's goal was to just keep the RMR points and make the major, even if we had to do badly until the end of the year. So, just on that point, by the way, this is just the ongoing. Like, again, I don't know who is running the EG Counter-Strike team, but that to me is like, we're going to forfeit our entire competitive year to retain points for an RMR to qualify for a major we cannot possibly even get to the later stages of because our team's so bad. So, seems to me that, bad decisions have been made repeatedly on this team. And there's been a number of opportunities to fix it, but no one ever wants to rip the Band-Aid off. When Stan said he needed an extended break, you had to replace him. Not cool, but you have to just permanently bench him, bring in a replacement, and tell him when he feels better again, if he feels better again, he can work his way back into the team. And if he wants to leave, you let him out of his contract. That's how you can support him and also not have the burden of not being able to continue to run team business professionally. This stuff with Stewie, the CEO watches Stewie misbehaving at an event, does nothing about it. The coaches come to you and say Stewie's being a problem. He won't follow instructions, so it's him or me. You pick Stewie. You can't even guarantee your team will enter these tournaments. You're paying them this massive salary. So what do? You don't just drop the team and bring in a replacement team. You bring in 2 more teams. It's question. Ever since the initial 3 million acquisition from NRG, EG has probably been the org that has made the most poor decisions around the management of their Counter-Strike division in the world, maybe bar 1 or 2 examples. Anyway, he goes on. He said, after reaching the one goal EG had set for us, which was to make the major, we tried to use a sub for the major to maybe have a slightly better chance that we wouldn't go 0-3, but that was also stopped because the understanding from EG was just ride it out till the off-season to make changes. We now have reached the off-season and EG removes 3 players. I proposed a roster with NAF as the centerpiece, but that falls through for various reasons, and I also inform EG at the same time that I do not want to coach anymore after my experience over the last half of the year. I will say one thing, as I see the community roast certain players more than others for EG's downfall, but Cirque, out of all the players in this team, put in a ton of time to try and get out of his slump by watching demos, playing the most out of anyone, asking questions, doing one-on-one demo review. But the reality is that it was pretty much impossible to play well in this team with how dysfunctional it was. There was a lot left out of this, but I do hope my friends find their form again, as it was sad to see what this team once was be turned into this, that even our manager, who was a LOL coach, couldn't believe the shit that happened in this team. As for me, I'm looking to play again after my experience here. I don't think I'd coach again unless I had some GM power to make changes on the roster. So, key line there at the end. Daps going to Liquid is, it's a job he's only taking on the premise he's got the authority. And I'll tell you, I actually think almost more so than Yekindar, but Yekindar's a massive upgrade for Shocks. Also more than the Yekindar sign. And the Daps replacing Adrian is going to be the masterpiece. Daps and Naf are very good friends. They have a really good relationship. You're going to see probably Naf given the preferential treatment in the setups now, the ones that they do change, over Elige. And I think Elige is in a position where, given that, you've removed supposedly all the other toxic elements from Team Liquid, you are going to have to, kind of take that one on the chin and rein in your instinct a little bit. And I think Team Liquid will be better for it. Some people are saying they're going to go instantly into the top 5 teams in the world with Yekindar. I'm not vibing with that at all. But let's be real. Having a North American team that could just fucking compete with European teams would be a fucking start, wouldn't it? And I think you are going to get that now. I think there's going to be less embarrassing performances. I think the standard's going to be higher. And it is going to be interesting to see how they react to having a coach who's a bit more authoritarian, not a yes man. A yes man, as he said, would have stayed at EG and just took the money like so many other players did. So we get to the drama of today, which is just ridiculous, but not surprising. And I'm sure you'll have seen it. It was posted to the CS subreddit, but prior to that, it was top of the Valorant subreddit. It's a classic American streamer nonsense. It's the old classic leaked DMs from who else but Stewie2k. Who else but Stewie2k? Who, by the way, has continued to grind Valorant this entire time on his break when there are other competitions, and other things coming up and everything else. And you'll see here, this is Wardell talking to Stu on Steam. And Wardell says, "You will lose your mind. I think going streamer is good. I think if you were to try to go pro, you would, in Valorant you would need a solid team, because everyone is brain dead. I don't even think you need skill in this game. You just need to be able to think. I can't handle e.g. Val took a map off of NRG." Now, there's a lot going on there. I'll just start with, I know Wardell became huge because he joined TSM, but he seems to have forgotten that anyone who followed him in CS knows exactly what he was. He was another classic, socially dysfunctional American player with an ego that far exceeded his ability, who wouldn't listen to anyone, despite having worked with some pretty good players and pretty good IGLs down the years, and didn't really start impressing people and achieving his potential till he played in that Ghost lineup with Steel. Steel being probably, even unironically at that point, even with the ban from the majors, the best IGL CS Counter-Strike has probably had. There's a couple of names that we can kick around, but when it comes to developing talent and getting people on board, especially dysfunctional people, somehow Steel makes it work. And I'll tell you, it's not a coincidence that Steel, by the way, didn't have a lot of good things to say when he eventually moved on to Valorant. Now, the worst thing that Wardell could have had happen to him was end up at fucking team social media and basically have all of the followers and it all gassed up, and he was going full crypto bro as well at the same time. So everything's growing exponentially, and now he's in a position where he seems to think he's got some sort of god tier read on the game. And I'll just tell you, absolutely fucking not. You were tier 2 in CS. You never got that game down. And honestly, I think given your just raw talent compared to where you've ended up in Valorant, I think it's pretty fucking embarrassing as well, frankly. You should have had that on lock. You had a fantastic opportunity. And yeah, I know TSM changed their IGL as well, and that's a factor in why they're doing better now. But it's always a terrible look if you think you're the best player and only you know how to play the game, and you get cut and your team gets better. It's ridiculous. So anyway, if Stu, this is what I mean about him needing an intervention in the previous stream and previous video, because he's talking to people like Wardell, and Wardell's just telling him bro, you should just be a streamer, man. You'd hate it trying to play with all these brain deads in Valorant. We looked at Stu's Valorant scores, his stats. He's not even at the highest level of the ladder. Let's not pretend he's mastered Valorant or anything. And Wardell's gassing him up and telling him, "Oh, it's terrible over here. Everyone's a brain dead cunt." Then, bar one or two examples, it's no, the NA scene is pretty fucking strong. So strong, we're reaching a point where all the washed up CS motherfuckers they need to get ghost because there's nothing for them anymore. They are living on borrowed time. They're fucking dinosaurs roaming the earth. And the comment of all the 16, 17-year-old Zooms that were fucking playing fucking Fortnite and building shit with insane micro at age 12, they're ready to fucking jam now. You ain't got a job no more. That's life. It happens in every esports. Happens in every fucking esports of all time. It's why the age generally at the start tends to be older rather than younger. It tends to trend downward initially. So anyway, Stu then goes, that's the thing. I feel like in Valorant, it takes no skill. Since it takes no skill, it's hard to have consistency. Since it takes no skill, well, it's mad. It's insane to be this delusional about a game you're not even in the top bracket of yet. And you're grinding 16 games a day. And it's I can sort of understand the premise. The idea is if the skill ceiling's really low, everybody else can hit that ceiling. And so as a result, you will have more people be able to carry games, and typically results will be inconsistent and no team will dominate for a period. But what you quickly realize about most esports is that feels true when everyone's still learning, but then there'll be one player or one team and they break that ceiling, and now the ceiling's here. And everyone else has been playing here comfortable, thinking they've got it cracked. They have to try and emulate that, and they can't. And then eventually someone does, and then you get a rivalry, and then they pull ahead, and then someone you didn't even see coming comes out. And this is how you grow up and push that ceiling upwards. You don't just say, oh, it's a super easy game for everybody, so that's why I'm inconsistent. That's why I lose. And I've heard this attitude loads down the years in esports. It's like that old saying, the best swordsman in the world doesn't fear the second swordsman, second best swordsman in the world. He fears the person picking up a sword for the first time, because the idea is they don't know what they're going to do. So how can you possibly read their technique? It's like trying to catch a butterfly. And loads, and particularly North American pros, loads of them use this excuse for the copium of basically saying, like, oh, the reason we lost that game is they're idiots. They don't play properly. So how can we counter them? They don't play properly. How can we counter them? And it's like, no, you should still be able to win. It's that simple. So it's crazy to me. And as I said, Stu hasn't even hit the ceiling of Valorant yet. Nowhere near. So I don't know where he thinks he's got the insight for. You're grinding really hard at it, but you've still got a long way to go. You're nowhere near pro level. Facts. Actual facts. Wardell then replies and goes, that's not it. It's just people don't play properly, and that's why it looks inconsistent. I swear Optic is the only team that plays this game like CS, and probably Xset, and I don't think Xset is that good. Now, I don't give a fuck about that bit. That's his opinion. He's entitled to it. But you're starting to see the issue. And also, by the way, while we're talking about who's brain dead, American streamer don't leak private conversations challenge? Impossible. Like, how can you not get this right? How many years have you been streaming for, all of y'all? It happens all the time. This is brain dead. What I'm looking at right now. This is fucking brain dead. So anyway, it's no wonder Stewie's in this fucking hole that he's in, because he's talking to all the wrong people about all the prospects he can got. And you can see there, Wardell is advising him, yeah, just be a streamer. Now, again, the moment this leaks, if it's my team, I'm on the phone to Stu this day saying, look, if you've got designs on being a streamer, that's fine. But we're going to hold you to your contract. You're going to be streaming as an EG streamer, and you will adhere to all of the things in the contract you signed. And I'm cutting you from the team today because it is a terrible example for our leader to set to be having this type of conversation. Yes, it was private, but now it's public. I have to deal with it. It's risk mitigation. And if you do that, by the way, if you do that, you might keep Cirque and Breezy if you want to. Because I think we all know by now Stewie's the problem. Unironically, not a joke, not a meme. He's 100% the problem. Your leader doesn't want to be a leader, but he's the guy who insisted on being the leader. Your leader doesn't even want to play CS anymore. You've had to sign 2 teams to accommodate for this. How much money is that pissed up against the wall? We'll go for piss over spunk at this point. It's enough's enough. Like, when are you going to take appropriate action and actually manage evil geniuses like it's an esports organization? Because this is just absurd. This is absurd. And it just tells you, look, again, Mr. I will do anything to win. All I want to do is win. And you're asking a guy who got cut from a team, who sat there bemoaning losing crypto and streaming, you're asking him, should I come to Valorant or be a streamer? And Wardell's going to be a streamer. Neither of you have competitive drive. Because if at any point you ask, should I just be a streamer? Just be a streamer. You're not a fucking esports pro anymore. End of story. If you ever ask yourself, do I need to pull myself up and compete some more and win a few things? Do I, no. If you're asking the question, you already know that you're fucked. Because a real winner, a real competitor just does what they have to do to get better. Change your scene, change your training, change your coach, change your habits, change your role. They explore every option because they just want to play and they just want to win. You just want to make money now and hold on to what semblance of fleeting reputation you have. All of the things you said on your stream completely disproven by your own words and your own actions once again. It's embarrassing now. Just take the fucking... This is like the third L. Like, just stop. Quit. Quit. You want to quit. Quit. I'm telling you, it's okay. If you quit within a year, people will forget all about this shit and just talk about what a good player you were. Absolutely ridiculous. So, that was the drama. And more Stewie and EG related drama, and I don't think things bode well for that roster anymore. And I don't know what they're going to do, because NA talent, pretty thin on the ground. It's very hard to replace players right now. Very hard to, kind of get options of European players that want to come and play. And, people are saying you feel bad for Automatic. Don't feel bad for Automatic either. He made a choice to walk away, from a Valorant career and stay over there, to come back to CS, because they were never in Valorant because they wanted to be in the first place, because they thought they were going to be able to rule the roost. And remember, in the EV interview, Automatic was saying, me and Stewie have won a major. We know what to do, bro. We're going to carry this team. And then look what you got. But credit to Automatic, at least occasionally he did put up numbers. You make your bed, you lie in it.